First, fast, and accurate. News Channel 25, WVTT.
Well, it's definitely starting to feel like sandal weather here in the Twin Tiers. Temperatures reached about 64 degrees, although here in Olean it got up to about 70 degrees here around noontime. Overnight tonight, the temperatures are going to be about 58 degrees, pretty warm overnight, and we're going to see a little bit of rain. Last night we had a few thunder showers here in Olean. Tonight could be much of the same, maybe a little bit of precipitation, and tomorrow going to be a lot of rain and overcast skies. It's definitely going to be chillier tomorrow with a high of 47 degrees. I'll have full weather details for you later on.
Global news update on WVTT.
At least 14 people believed to be injured in an apparent random stabbing at a college north of Houston. It happened at Lone Star College's campus in Cypress, Texas. Now, the Harris County Sheriff's Office says at least 4 of the stabbing victims were airlifted to local hospitals. No word on their current condition yet. According to reports, a student took down one suspect and held the person until authorities arrived. One person is now in custody. The school is currently in lockdown still tonight. Police are investigating. Some students reacted to the stabbing. Take a listen.
It was just really scary after hearing about it, you know. I didn't know anything like that could happen here, so it was scary.
Is it one of those things that you can't really control, but you don't think of it, but when it happens, it's like a shock to you?
Yeah, it's definitely a shock. I mean, you hear somebody bleeding. I mean, it's a shock.
When the shooting happened at the other campus a couple months back, did it ever cross your mind that something similar could happen here?
Yes, it did. It sure did. But I wasn't too worried about it just because it seemed so far away from us. And here, I mean, it's a nice campus. I mean, there isn't a lot of security. I don't see a lot of security, but it's just, no, I didn't think that would happen here.
And authorities releasing more information about that stabbing as the hours go on tonight, saying in a press conference that they do have a suspect in custody.
But as of right now, we have one suspect.
It's a student?
Modi.
I can't tell you anything, confirm that right now, but this is what we have. We have the suspect. The situation has been detained. The school is on lockdown. Once that has been done and we have gone through and the investigation continues, I will be able to give you more information.
Well, from the stabbing in Texas to the gun debate in Washington, the gun debate got personal in Washington today. A dozen family members of children killed in the Sandy Hook Elementary School massacre lobbied lawmakers face to face. The group traveled to Washington on Air Force One on Monday following President Obama's speech in Connecticut. They'll spend 2 days pushing senators to pass gun safety legislation.
The families are of a view that they probably don't want to talk to the media this afternoon. We've had a very good, positive, constructive discussion. They are going to be the voices and faces of victims of gun violence, not only in Newtown, but all who have perished because of this epidemic and scourge around the country. They are a call to action, and we're going to be counting on them to be meeting with our colleagues.
And President Barack Obama angrily chided lawmakers reluctant to back gun control legislation on Monday, saying that the overwhelming support for measures like universal background checks among the American people should force action in Congress. White House Press Secretary Jay Carney released this statement from the White House today.
It would be appalling if common sense legislation supported by 90% of the American people, by something like 80% of Republicans, 80% of gun owners, were to be filibustered. Have the courage of your convictions and allow a vote and vote no. If you want to vote no, vote no. How you can tell the families of Newtown victims, some of whom are here today, trying to urge members of the Senate to pass or at least vote on these common sense measures, that the memory of their children doesn't deserve at least that. I can't even imagine that conversation. We fully expect and hope that individual senators will see the rightness in allowing votes on these measures.
And the Republican Party appears split over whether to block gun legislation in the Senate, while more than a dozen GOP senators have stated that they plan to block the proposed bill from proceeding. A number of Republicans are saying that the public deserves to hear the debate over the legislation. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell has also vowed to oppose the bill as it stands now. Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid had this to say to the opposition.
This legislation won't prevent every crime, especially those awful crimes. And background checks won't keep guns out of the hands of every violent madman. And we all know that. But we owe it to the American people to act as if there's a chance to save even one life, whether that life belongs to great-grandfather like Stanley Cooper or these babies who barely began to live in Newtown, Connecticut. Mr. President, they deserve a vote.
We are continuing to cover the gun debate here at WVTT. Visit our website for the latest. Police are investigating a shooting and a fire at a medical plaza in Detroit. Authorities say a man came into the building today with a gun. They say he fired at least one shot, then set the building on fire. Authorities believe he may have been targeting a girlfriend who works there. The building is nearly a total loss. Fire crews were held back from going inside because of potential danger. Forced budget cuts have grounded the U.S. Navy's famed Blue Angels. The Navy has canceled all of the flight demonstration team performances for the rest of the year. Officials say the move was caused by automatic budget cuts known as sequestration. The squadron will continue to train as its home station in Pensacola, Florida. A powerful earthquake hit southern Iran this morning. Iranian state TV reports that at least 32 are dead with some 800 injured. The quake struck about 100 kilometers southeast of Bushehr, the site of the nation's only nuclear power station. The U.S. Geological Survey measured its magnitude at 6.3. The Senate Armed Service Committee met today to discuss its plan as North Korea's war threats continue. Senator John McCain led the group and asked if the nation is prepared.
We have the capability to intercept a missile if the North Koreans launch within the next several days.
We do.
Would you recommend such action?
If the missile was in defense of the homeland, I would certainly recommend that action. And if it was defense of our allies, I would recommend that action.
My question is, would you recommend that we intercept a missile if it is launched by North Korea, no matter where the intended target is?
I would not recommend that.
Until you were sure what the target is?
Well, I think that if you look at the architectures that we have, we will be able to sense and be able to understand pretty quickly where any launch from anywhere in the world, but in this case, from this particular site, where it would be going and what we need to do about it. So I'm confident that we would be able to make that decision for defense of our allies and our homeland.
It's time for stocks now. Let's take a look at the WVTT Wall Street wrap-up. It's brought to you by News Radio 96.7 WVTT. An update on Wall Street. The Dow closed up about 60 points to close at 14,673. The NASDAQ up about 16 points to close at 3238. And the S&P 500 up about 5.5 to close at 1569. We have much more coming your way. We have weather, the St. Bonaventure University Sports Corner, also national sports. It's all coming your way right here on News Channel 25 WVTT.